When I was digging through games from the last Steam Next Fest, I suddenly found out that there was another festival right before it, the Immersive Storylines Game Festival. First of all, I love that name, and since this channel is all about immersive experiences and storytelling, I immediately felt like, okay, I cannot miss this. I've shared a lot of upcoming hidden gems with you guys, but I realize I haven't talked much about games that are already out. Games you can literally play right now. And I know some of you want that. You want something you can dive into today without waiting. So while we wait for the upcoming releases, let's take a look at the games from this festival that caught my attention. And trust me, they are guaranteed to pull you deep into their stories. I also played some of the demos, so I will share my impressions along the way. Welcome to Heartfluff XO Cozy Corner, a cozy little space where the magic of storytelling brings you comfort. Before that, if you love visual novel story-rich or otome games, or if you want to learn Japanese with otome games and experience some heart-fluffy romance, I suggest you to subscribe to this channel because you are in the right place. Let's start this list with a little bit of romance. Aroma Love Ready. Oh my gosh, finally, I can talk about this game. I've been wanting to share it even before it released. I actually discovered it while making my mind-blowing otome games with gameplay video, but it didn't fit the criteria at the time, so I kept it for later. I remember when I played the demo, it left such a huge impression on me. In this game, you play as the owner of the perfume shop, an ordinary second-generation otaku living a quiet, happy life, until a sudden car accident knocks you unconscious. And when you wake up, three men are standing there claiming to be employees from the Human Soul Transit Center: an angel, a demon, and a fallen angel. They tell you that you were supposed to die in that accident, but somehow you came back to life. So now they have to observe you for a few days to investigate why this anomaly happened. And as you get to know them, the truth behind the accident and a hidden agenda slowly unfolds. The first thing that stood out to me when I played the demo was the background CG. I have never seen an otome game use something that looks like oil painting backgrounds. It's such a brilliant artistic choice that makes the game feel so unique. They also use these adorable little chibi CGs, and the sprites are super expressive, funny, comical, full of personality. That's why I adore indie games. They're not afraid to be creative, and the three love interests also have very different personalities, so you'll definitely find your type. And their banter and dynamic is so good. I was genuinely surprised by how detailed and immersive everything felt in this game, and honestly, story-wise, I was hooked. I needed to know what really happened with the accident and why the MC came back to life. I already bought the full game and finished the roots. I'll make a full review once I finish all of them. So if you love heart-fluffy romance with a story that actually pulls you in, you might enjoy this game. Just keep in mind the translation isn't the best, but it's still understandable and enjoyable. But if you're sensitive to translations, even a little, I suggest staying away. And speaking of stories that leave a big emotional impression, let me introduce you to another visual novel that immediately caught my attention: Christmas Tina. The first time I came across this game, I was honestly in awe because the premise is just so unique. Christmas Tina follows two protagonists, Kana, a high school girl who decides to leave her hometown after a life-changing accident, and Jing, a young man from China who failed his university entrance exams. For different reasons, both of them decide to start over in Japan. Unexpectedly, they set their eyes on the same job, but the employer only wants one person. So Kana, who struggles socially, and Jing, who doesn't speak Japanese at all, both really want this job. So Sakura, the woman in charge of hiring, suggests something surprising. They do the job together. And from there, what kind of story will unfold between two people who can't even speak the same language? One thing I love is how this visual novel is presented. It feels like a film playing right in front of you, and from what I've seen, It's not a choices matter game, more like a pure story experience. And the demo alone was already really interesting. Two strangers living together, trying to communicate despite their language barriers. I'm so curious what kind of bond they will develop, and I added this to my wish list right away. Honestly, it feels like the perfect game to play during Christmas, just like the title. And if you love emotional stories and slow, gentle connection, you might want to keep your heart ready for this one. Oh, and by the way, the Steam title is in Chinese, so just type Christmas Tina and it will bring up the demo and the full game. Alright, after something emotional and heartwarming like Christmas Tina, here's a game that goes in a completely different direction, but grab me just as fast. If you're a fan of Ace Attorney, you need to check out Murders on the Yangtze River. Okay, I hope I pronounced that right. Because this game grabbed me instantly the moment I found it. You play as John Shin, a traveling detective chasing the truth and revenge for his brother's death. Along the way, you get pulled into mystery after mystery across early 20th century China. With challenging puzzles and interesting characters, this game will hook you from the very beginning. And from the demo alone, everything felt exactly like what they promised. The moment I saw they took inspiration from the Kindaichike's Files series, I was like, okay, this is going to be epic. The setting pulls you in immediately, and the investigation parts are way more detailed than I expected. They even included tiny CGs with that brush painting aesthetic to show exactly how the murder happened. And honestly, it's so fun to watch because of how they represent all of the scenario. Plus the expressive characters, the sound design, and the voice acting, everything just feels alive. I only solved the first case so far, but it already feels super promising because it's not over yet. That case might actually connect to the main story. I'm genuinely so grateful this festival existed because I would have never found this game without it. I barely see anyone talk about this title and it deserves so much more attention. So if you love mystery, deduction, atmospheric settings, and that classic detective thrill, this game is absolutely worth checking out. Now, let's slow things down for a bit because the next game isn't about murder or deduction. It's about something far more delicate. Ever since I found Opus Prism Pick and how it instantly intrigued me with its storytelling, I was genuinely surprised to discover that Opus is actually a whole series, and the one that immediately caught my attention is Opus Echo of Star Song. This game is a visual novel-style adventure set in a universe where asteroids emit mysterious sounds called star songs. These star songs hold incredible power, sparking conflict across the thousand peaks. And from that alone, you can already feel this is going to be emotionally intense. You follow Jun, a young man exiled by his clan who sets out to redeem himself. On his journey, he meets Ida, a witch who can hear and imitate star songs. And together, they dive into ancient myths, hidden secrets, and emotional stories buried deep within space. Even just from the trailer, I can already feel this is going to be an emotional roller coaster. It feels like the kind of game that pulls you in gently, might break your heart a little, and then puts it back together in a way you didn't expect. I can feel it, you guys. So, while we're all waiting for the upcoming Opus Prism Pick, this might be the perfect one to experience first. The kind of story that stays with you long after the credits roll. And after traveling through the stars, let's end this list to a story that feels warm, familiar, and closer to home. The heroes around me follows a family of three, a quiet, hardworking father named Nan, his daughter Lily, and their adorable dog, Sesame. Truly such a cute name. It's a sentimental short narrative about a single father raising his daughter in 1990s China. A time that looks simple from the outside but is filled with quiet struggles and unspoken acts of love. Through short conversations and small interactions, the game hides so much emotions between the lines, and almost every detail carries a piece of their story. The developers mentioned that if you tap slowly and really savor each moment, you'll gradually uncover a warm story about what it really means to be a hero. And honestly, I can already feel how deeply this will hit. A father doing his best even when he doesn't always get it right, and a daughter seeing her world with innocence and curiosity. It captures both the warmth and the harshness of the 90s, giving us a glimpse into a time full of memories many people still hold close. If you grew up in China during that era, I think this will feel incredibly nostalgic. But even if you didn't, it still offers a beautiful new perspective on what life was like back then in China. Ultimately, it's a moving tale about patience, sacrifice, and a father who keeps trying in his own quiet way to be a good one. If you're looking to a heartfelt story that stays with you long after you finish it, this one is absolutely worth checking out. And that wraps up our list of games. There were actually a few more that caught my attention when I discovered them, but too bad, most of them are only available in Chinese. If they were in Japanese, I could still try because I'm learning it, but Chinese? No, time out, I surrender. It reminds me of my high school grades. Well, let's not talk about that. I also forgot to record those games, which is such a shame because I really wanted to show them to you guys. Some of them look so different and unique compared to most story-rich games I usually see. All of these are from Chinese developers because this whole festival was held by a Chinese creator. And honestly, after seeing so many of their games, I really think Chinese story-rich games deserve way more attention. A lot of them have such unique concepts, and the art, oh my gosh. If you love painterly, hand-drawn styles, Chinese devs do it so well. I think it might be connected to their traditional art history, ink, brushwork, watercolor aesthetics. But if you know more about it, please tell me in the comments because I would love to learn. I seriously can't wait to discover more of them, play them, and maybe even make a dedicated video about why we should pay more attention to these games once I gather more info. And if you don't want to miss more amazing story-rich games, especially the hidden gems people rarely talk about, you might want to check out this video where I covered upcoming story-rich games that really deserve more attention. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!